In America, you're either a Ford guy or a Chevy guy. It's not just a choice of car, it's choosing a side. It's a rivalry born on race tracks and argued in garages for 100 years. You think you know Chevy. You know the Corvette, the Camaro, the Silverado. You know the heartbeat of America. And, like a rock. But the real story of Chevrolet, the full story, is much dirtier, weirder, and far more dangerous. Did you know their flagship sports car was almost cancelled in its second year for being a total failure? That the name of their most famous muscle car was literally a threat, meaning Mustang Killer? Or that a single, disastrously designed car got so many people killed, it forced the creation of the U. Today, we're digging up 22 facts about Chevrolet cars that prove behind the shiny bowtie is a history of staggering triumphs, brilliant, renegade engineers, and some of the most catastrophic failures in automotive history. Fact 1. The Corvette was a complete failure. When the Corvette debuted in 1953, it was breathtaking. A fiberglass dream, but under the hood, it was a disaster. It had a weak, 150 horsepower 6-cylinder engine called the Blue Flame 6, which was just a souped-up truck engine, and a sluggish 2-speed automatic transmission. It was a beautiful body with no soul. It was a sports car that couldn't sport. GM planned to build thousands, but in 1954, they barely sold 1,800 cars and had over 1,000 left sitting on lots. The program was bleeding cash, and by the end of the year, GM executives had already decided to kill it. Fact 2. The man who saved the Corvette. By breaking the rules. The Corvette was saved by one man, Zora Arkus-Duntov, a Belgian-born engineer and race car driver. Zora saw the Corvette and knew what it could be. He wrote a legendary internal memo to management titled Thoughts on the Corvette, basically telling them they had no idea what a sports car was. His solution? He championed Chevy's brand new, lightweight small block V8. He essentially forced it into the car, transforming it from a slow-moving parade float into a genuine, fire-breathing performance machine. Without Zora, the Corvette would be a forgotten 2-year footnote. Fact 3. The window. Everyone hated. Fast forward to 1963. The new Corvette Stingray is one of the most beautiful cars ever made, and its most iconic feature is that split-window coupe. It was beautiful, and it was a functional nightmare. The split bar down the middle made rear visibility almost zero. The car's chief designer, Bill Mitchell, loved it. He thought it was the spine of the car. But Zora, the performance guy, hated it. He argued it was impractical and unsafe. For 1 year, the designer won. But after 1963, the engineers won out, and the split window was gone forever, making the 63 an instant icon. Fact 4. The 57 Bel Air's evil twin, the Black Widow. The 57 Chevy Bel Air is the icon of 1950s America, but it had a dark, secret version. It was called the Black Widow. NASCAR was a stock car series, so Chevy built a special, bare-bones Bel Air 150. It had no radio, no heater, no frills. But it did have Chevy's brand new, space-age ramjet fuel injection system. They were painted in black and white and were so dominant, they were practically a factory race team in disguise. The Black Widow was a street-legal car built for one purpose, to kill the competition. Fact 5. The oldest name in automotive history. This might surprise you. What's the longest-running, continuously used car name in the world? It's not the Beetle. It's not the Mustang. It's the Chevrolet Suburban. The first Suburban carryall rolled off the line in 1935. It was an 8-passenger, 2-door wagon built on a commercial truck frame. It was the world's first true sport utility vehicle. That name has been in continuous production for 9 decades. Fact 6. A Camaro is an animal that eats Mustangs. In 1964, Ford launched the Mustang and it lit the world on fire. General Motors was caught completely flat-footed. They had nothing to compete with it. They scrambled, launching a Project Panther. Finally, in 1966, they were ready. At a press conference, journalists asked what the new name, Camaro, meant. A Chevy manager deadpanned, "It's a small, vicious animal that eats Mustangs." It wasn't a car, it was a declaration of war. Fact 7. The Z/28 was a secret menu item. The most legendary Camaro is the Z/28. But in 1967, you couldn't just walk in and buy one. It wasn't advertised. Z/28 wasn't a name, it was an internal order code. Regular production option Z/28. If you knew a guy and checked that box, you got a secret car. It was built to compete in the SCCA Trans Am Racing Series. It had a high-revving 302 cubic inch V8, a 4-speed manual, heavy-duty suspension, and often, no radio and no AC. It was a street-legal race car, hidden in plain sight. Fact 8. The El Camino was an act of revenge. The El Camino, part car, part truck, seems like a classic Chevy idea. Except it wasn't. Ford did it first. Ford launched the Ranchero in 1957. Chevy, seeing its success, rushed to respond. In 1959, they launched the El Camino, based on their flamboyant Bel Air. But here's the twist, it was a flop. It was too stylized and less practical, and Chevy killed it after just 2 years, before relaunching it in 1964 to fight the Ranchero all over again. Fact 9. The No VA myth is, well, a myth. You've heard this one. The Chevy Nova supposedly failed in Spanish-speaking countries because no VA means doesn't go. It's the classic automotive urban legend, and it's completely false. First, no VA is 2 words. Nova is one, meaning new star. Second, the Nova sold great in Mexico and Venezuela. It was a popular, reliable car. The no VA story is just a funny story. That doesn't go anywhere. Fact 10. The car that created modern safety laws. This is the most infamous car in Chevy's history, the Corvette. It was a revolutionary rear-engine, air-cooled car meant to fight the VW Beetle. But its rear swing-axle suspension had a deadly flaw. In hard cornering, the outside wheel could tuck under, causing the car to spin violently and flip, often killing its occupants. A young lawyer named Ralph Nader wrote a book about it called Unsafe at Any Speed. They were caught, the scandal exploded, and the resulting public outrage led directly to the creation of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Fact 11. The car that rusted on the showroom floor. The 1970s. The oil crisis. Chevy needed a small car fast. They created the Vega. It was a disaster from top to bottom. To save pennies, engineers didn't install rear fender liners. Water and salt would get trapped, and the cars began to rust. Immediately, we're talking cars rusting on the dealer lots before they were even sold. It was a public humiliation. Fact 12. The Vega's self-destructing engine. The rust was only half the problem. The Vega had a revolutionary, for Chevy, aluminum engine block, but they paired it with a heavy cast iron head. These two metals expand and contract at different rates. This meant the head gaskets always failed. Coolant would leak into the oil would leak. The engine would overheat, warp, and literally eat itself. It was a brilliant piece of engineering that was, in practice, a ticking time bomb. Fact 13. Shipping them. Nose down. The Vega story gets weirder. To save on shipping, GM designed a special Vertipack railroad car. They had special baffles in the oil pan, a sealed battery, and a special fluid-catching canister, all to prevent leaks while hanging upside down. They put more engineering into shipping the car than they did into making it last. Fact 14. This citation, disaster. GM's 70s failures were so bad, they needed a home run for 1980. They launched the Chevy Citation, their first big front-wheel drive car. It was Motor Trend's Car of the Year. And it was another death trap. It was rushed. The brakes would lock up. And it had a new, terrifying problem called torque steer, where the car would violently rip the steering wheel from your hands when you accelerated. GM was hit with 1.4 million recalls, one of the biggest in history. They had, once again, destroyed public trust. Fact 15. The Chevette was a global mutt. Remember the cheap little Chevette? It was Chevy's best-selling small car of the era. But it wasn't really American. It was a T-car platform, meaning the exact same car was sold as the Opel Kadett in Germany, the Vauxhall Chevette in Britain, the Holden Gemini in Australia, and the Isuzu I-Mark in Japan. It was a car designed for everyone, which meant it was special to no one. Fact 16. The engine that changed the world. In 1955, Chevy introduced the small block V8. It was light, It was compact, it was powerful, it was cheap to build, and it was infinitely modifiable. It is, without question, the most successful and influential engine in automotive history. It is the sound of 20th century America. Fact 17. Louis Chevrolet quit his own company. Here's the ultimate irony. The company's founder, Louis Chevrolet, wasn't an engineer. He was a famous, daredevil Swiss-born race car driver. The founder of GM, William Durant, hired him just for his famous, marketable name. But they clashed. Durant wanted to build cheap, reliable cars for the masses. Louis, the racer, wanted to build high-performance, expensive cars. They fought so much that in 1913, Louis Chevrolet quit the company that bore his own name. Fact 18. The mystery motor that terrified NASCAR. In 1963, GM had an official ban on racing, but Chevy engineers hated losing to Ford. So in secret, they developed a monster, the 427 cubic inch mystery motor. It wasn't for sale. They gave a few to top race teams just before the Daytona 500. It was so fast, it blew the doors off every Ford and set new speed records. Ford protested. NASCAR was in an uproar. It was a pure skunkworks project, a middle finger to Ford and even their own bosses at GM. Fact 19. The Intimidator was a Chevy man. You can't talk about Chevy without talking about Dale Earnhardt. His black, number 3 Goodwrench Monte Carlo was the most menacing sight in NASCAR. The Intimidator was the Chevy guy. He won 6 of his 7 championships in a Chevrolet, cementing the brand's identity for millions of working-class fans. For a generation, Chevy was Dale Earnhardt. Fact 20. The Australian, secret, muscle car. From 2014 to 2017, Chevy sold a car called the SS. It was a 4-door V8, rear-wheel drive sedan. A true American muscle car. Except, it wasn't American. It was 100% Australian. It was a rebadged Holden Commodore, built in Australia and shipped over. It was a secret car for enthusiasts. A 4-door Camaro that Chevy barely even bothered to advertise. Fact 21. The Brazilian legend. While Americans had the Camaro, Brazil had the Opala. It was one of the most beloved cars in Brazilian history. But it was a complete hybrid. It was the body of a German Opel Rekord, powered by American Chevy 4 and 6-cylinder engines. It was their muscle car, their police car, and their luxury car for decades. Fact 22. The electric car that burned gas. Finally, the Chevy Volt. It was marketed as an electric car, a revolutionary new step, but it was confusing. GM called it an extended-range electric vehicle. It had a battery that ran for 40 miles, but also a gasoline engine. But the engine didn't drive the wheels. Most of the time, it acted as a generator to recharge the battery. It was a brilliant piece of technology that was simply too complex to explain in a 30-second commercial. Was it electric? Was it a hybrid? Nobody knew. From the absolute shame of the Corvair to the enduring glory of the Corvette. From the world's most produced V8 to the melting engine of the Vega. The history of Chevrolet is a history of wild extremes. They built timeless legends in cars they, and their customers, would rather forget. But that's what makes them so compelling. They were never afraid to be revolutionary, never afraid to take a massive risk. Even if that risk sometimes blew up right in their faces. So, what Chevy story did we miss? And it's time to answer the most important question. Are you Ford or are you Chevy? Let us know in the comments.